Hey everyone, guess what? We do not have ugly swag. We have spaced out radio gear that you're going to want to wear. Why? Because no one wants to wear ugly clothing. So head on over to spacedoutradio.com and go shopping today. You'll be glad you did. And it's a great way to support our show. Once you get your gear, send us a picture of you rocking out in your SOR swag. spacedoutradio.com, shop there today, and make yourself look good.
Everybody, welcome to Spaced Out Radio, the After Hours radio show. We're going to have a fantastic night tonight. It's going to be deep. I just got a feeling that we're going to make some real good connections tonight. We have Jim White from the Santee Dakota Nation that'll be joining us, giving us their native perspective and some real good information. I just can feel it deep in my bones. I want to go ahead and jump out there and see who has actually come on in tonight, who gets the gold. Courtesy of Race Fan, we got Race Fan with the gold. We got Mothman with the silver. And then we got Kitty Catty Whack with the bronze. Once again, Kitty Catty Whack. Just a game that sounds like you don't want to play with your kitty cat, right? So definitely appreciate you guys all for coming in. Let me try to get through as many names as I can here. We got Matt Carter. We got Heidi Pop. We got Mel WD40 getting us lubed up and ready to go. We have Bim Jim. We have Miss Catherine Jones. Greeting Mr. Rob G. Hey, SOR family. Hey, Miss Catherine. Thanks for coming on in. Super Crazy Movie Geek is here. Who else do we have? Let's move down the list. Paranormal Pixie Laura is here. We got Pancho Zork saying, let's go. That's right. Let's go. Let's get it on. Let's see. We have, I did say Mark Sanchez. Did I not? I'm going to say it anyway. Mark Sanchez. Hey. And we also got Kurt Walker. Kurt Walker's in the building. Okay, great. So that was sweet and to the point. We're going to go ahead and get ready to get the podcast side started real quick. Welcome to Spaced Out Radio. I am your host, Mr. Rob G. Tonight we have Jim White from the Santee Dakota Nation who will be joining us talking about the native perspective and all sorts of things that he's been involved with and has going on. So I can't wait to go ahead and get into that. It is going to be awesome. I just can't wait. I really can't wait. So let's see who else has hopped in the chat as we await the radio side to start here. We got Lars Jansen saying good morning all. Let's see. Who else do we have? Road Flare stepped in, chiming in at the last minute saying, hi, guys. Hi, Road Flare. We do appreciate you coming on in. You guys already know, if you have missed any of these previous after hour shows, you can jump in our archive, youtube.com/spaced out radio at any time. Get what you missed. Get what you missed. Why not? As we got about 20 seconds before we get the radio side started. Can't wait for this one. This is going to be a good one, guys. I just anticipate the knowledge and some really good stuff. So we shall see. Let's get it in, guys. Greetings, space travelers. Welcome home. You just tuned your dial to Spaced Out Radio, the only place where you can own the night. I am your host, Mr. Rob G, and tonight we're broadcasting to you on our terrestrial affiliates across North America and digitally on TalkStream Live and other digital platforms around the world. Remember, you can access our archives for free, absolutely free, at youtube.com/spaced out radio. And while you're there, please consider hitting that subscribe button. Don't forget to follow us on Instagram and X at Spaced Out Radio, Spaced Out Radio Show. Our website is spacedoutradio.com, where the options are endless. You can stay up to date with the S1 Newswire, get some official Spaced Out swag, plus rock out to some Bumblefoot, and oh, so much more. Like I said, we're getting into it tonight with Jim White from the Santee Dakota Nation, and we're not going to waste any time. Let me go ahead and get the graphics up here, and Jim is going to be joining us live from the Santee Reservation, where the internet coverage isn't great, so he'll be joining us by phone this evening. I would like to go ahead and welcome Jim White to the show. Hi, Jim. How are you?
I'm good. Thank you.
All right, Jim. Getting into it here. If you wouldn't mind letting everybody know where you are and where you are from.
Thanks, Rob. I'm from the Santee Dakota Indian Reservation in northeast Nebraska, and I was born and raised here my whole life. And until I went into the military, but I've been here my whole life.
Okay, that's awesome stuff, Jim. And I do want to get into, like I do with every guest, I mean, just want to know, like, what, obviously you grew up in the Santee Dakota Nation, and I just wanted to know, like, what was the first time you experienced something? I'm sure it was probably young, but we'd love to hear the story behind that, some of your early encounters, if you wouldn't mind.
Okay. Well, I was raised by my grandpa and grandma. They're both full-blood Santee Dakotas. So in our family, we were more spiritual, and everything was done according to the Dakota culture, how we lived and how we ate and our belief system. And I grew up with that system, and so of course I had to do everything, like go to school and graduate from high school, and I went into the military, and I did come back home, and I settled down here, and this is where I'm at, I started doing ceremonies at the age of 27. I'm going to be 60 in a couple more days here.
Nice. Happy early birthday.
Yeah, September 11th to be my 60th birthday.
Nice.
And so anyway, I started out at the age of 27. Just like a lot of natives, I had a problem with alcohol. I cleaned myself up, and then I went into ceremonies, starting out with the Sweat Lodge, the Inipi ceremony. and it helped balance me out, and do a lot of ceremonies, a lot of prayer, a lot of songs. I was able to get myself on track, and I became a sun dancer at that same age too, and did my first vision quest at that age, and have been doing all of them ever since. So it's been over 30 years now. I've been doing these ceremonies.
That is awesome. That is awesome, Jim. And I always say that, you know, and people here have heard me say many a times that I believe all the answers are held within the native culture and community. You know, and there's some things that parallel some of the to me, truthfully, like the consciousness community, who's into like healing and healing energies and things of that nature. That community seems to align a lot with the native practices, and then as well as these cryptid encounters, these extraterrestrial visits. You know, there's stories and folklore that parallel to those things as well. And I want to jump into all that tonight. But before we go further, I want to paint a picture for everybody real quick, Jim. So I have you may not be able to see this, and the radio audience won't either, but I'll kind of describe to you what I'm showing. And it's actually going to be a graphic here that depicts North America and the United States prior to colonization, right? And showing all the boundaries of all the various tribes that were natively inhabiting the land here, because I think that's really important to kind of point out when we're having this discussion. This will kind of paint the picture. So as the audience looks at this, you know, there are no state lines, there are no state borders. This is the land as it was prior to colonization. And you know, I think it's important to kind of envision that as we go in and have this conversation, because, you know, for a lot of new or younger people, they may just, you know, depict natives as, you know, being relegated to like reservations and things of that nature. But there was a time when this land was the native land. And if you look at this map, you can see all the different areas where different tribes held ground here. And I'll kind of go through the slides here. This one depicts more of the same, just shows you more of North America down into what we know as Mexico, up into what we call Canada, where it breaks down. And as you get a visual of this, you really see that all of this land was native land from top to bottom, right? Before country lines and state lines were put into place. And to go a step further, I know a lot of people may not be able to see this. Let me full screen this real quick. But this is another map, basically kind of, you know, giving you pictures of different people from different tribes across the continent of North America. This one here is more the same. Just kind of want to make sure we covered everything. North America, going all the way up to where a guy Travis Moussus is from the Cree Nation up in Canada. And let's see. Next picture I have here is a map of North America, more so the United States. And what it's depicting here is it's showing UFO hotspots and encounters from all over the country historically. And it's a map that's really lit up in red in some places where activity is higher than other places, and along coastlines and places like the Bay Area, Los Angeles, New York. And we know those are high population areas, which is why they're so red. Some of the less populated areas are not as focused on, and it's to be, you know, it's to be expected because there's a lot less population in those areas. But the point is that to show that with all this historical UFO activity mapped over what we currently know as the United States and Canada, if you overlay that, which I kind of did here, you can kind of see it in the background. It really shows all of these native territories right smack in the middle of all these UFO hotspots. So I say all that to say that UFOs have been here for a long time. These encounters have been happening for a long time, all the way back before these lands were colonized. So wanted to kind of go, over that real quick, Jim, as we go ahead and hop back into the conversation. With that being said, what were some of the earliest stories that you heard as a kid that if you look at them today line up with a lot of the stories that people tell about cryptids, UFOs, and then also spiritual encounters?
Well, as far as our tribe, us Dakota people, when we go back into creation stories, we actually were out by the Atlantic Ocean, South Carolina and North Carolina, and we lived out there, and we built mounds. We were mound builders, and as far as some of the cryptids you talk about, one thing that's been around us since the beginning of time and even up to today is what we call the little people, the chont cheetahs,
yes.
The tree dwellers, they call them. And they have always been around us. No matter wherever we went, they're always around us. And to us, they're just like a tribe of people that coexist with us. And so some of them actually are spirit helpers that help certain medicine men and ceremonies. And, they got lots of different abilities that they can use to be of assistance to a lot of our native people. So that's, excuse me, that's probably one of the earliest that I know of that's always been around us.
Okay. And let me ask you this. So the tree people, and I've talked about this with our guy, Travis Moostus, before, but what, if the tree people, as far as cryptids that are currently talked about, what are those most connected to or relatable to? Like, what would be the UFO or phenomena version of the little people? Would it be like gnomes, or would it be, if you had to describe it?
But they're definitely earth-based spirits and beings. So as far as coming from UFOs, I don't think that's a fact. And so a gnome or like in the Irish, they call them leprechauns. It would be similar to that.
Yeah. Okay. And did you ever have an encounter with little people growing up?
Well, I think I have when I was a little boy, because my mom and my Aunt Rita, when I was like 4 years old and we lived out here at the home place, I would disappear all day. And then in the evening time, I would come home and they would like, "Where'd you go?" I'm like, "I don't know, I didn't, but I was always playing out here in the middle of the wilderness by myself, like a lot of native kids did. That's how we learned about the wilderness,
Mm-hmm.
but Mother Nature. And that was one of our teachers, plants, animals, trees, the actual dirt itself, the stones, everything was a teacher for us. We learned from it,
Yes. And what is the story behind the little people? Like what happens when you encounter them?
Well, I'm gonna give you one story. This is about an old medicine man here who's deceased, and I'll just say his first name. His first name is David. And so I don't, because you don't want to say their names at night. We always say it might call them to you, So, but I'm just going to use his first name, David. And what happened is he was walking one day, and he came across this little man, and he kept calling his name, And then finally he got tired of him calling his name. So he turned around and he stopped. He said, "What do you want?" And he said, "I'll give you what's in this bag if you give me your first horse." And he said, "Well, what's in the bag?" And he says, "You can do anything with this bag." So they made a trade. He promised him his first horse, and the little man gave him the bag. Well, this man had the ability to shape shift. They said he could change into an owl, into a snake, into a mouse, and I think the last one he could turn into a skunk. And so that man actually thought when he got, because if you owned a horse back then, you were considered very wealthy. And so that man thought, well, when I get a horse, I just have to take it out there and leave it for them. Well, what he meant was his firstborn son.
Ooh.
So when the man had his son died.
Wow.
But he did have two daughters, and I think the last one just passed away like 10 years ago. But because she is the one that told that story, I heard it from her, to a video.
So are they supposed to be like some sort of like tricksters, or?
I would say yes, because if they give you something, you gotta give something back in return.
Okay.
So that's what I truly believe,
Okay.
And my grandpa Philip White Sr. Long time ago, he was coming home. I wasn't born then, but he ran out of gas in the old Model T, and he had to walk like a mile and a half to his mom's house where he lived. And my grandpa Philip was saying that little man kept calling him, "Philip, Philip," and my grandpa wouldn't turn and look at him and talk to him because he knew he would have to trade with him, and he didn't want to, risk his children or his family. So he just kept walking straight, and he didn't make no kind of communication at all with him. So those are some of the things that are in our old stories around here with different families,
And if you could, Jim, if you could go into, I know you briefly said there that this, at night there are names that you don't want to mention at night, and I've heard that before. Are you able to explain to the audience what you mean by that?
Well, usually what we mean is if they're deceased and we call out their name, it may attract their spirit, or if they're in a ghost form, it may attract them to you, and it's hard. It'd be hard to get rid of them, because they may not bring something that's positive. So you just never know. So if you never know, just don't do it.
Yeah.
That way you have a better risk of not getting yourself into a bunch of trouble. So that's kind of what I mean by that.
So let me ask you this. Obviously, the map I just showed a moment ago showed all the UFO hotspots historically across the country and up into Canada as well. And it just depicts a lot of them. So it just lets us know that these sort of things have been happening forever. What are some of the old stories that when you think about them or when you look at them might be related to potentially seeing something in the sky that could be considered a UFO?
Well, I'll tell you what, Rob, just sitting up here on Facebook Hill where it's dark, I already seen two, because I'm at the Missouri River, and across is the state of South Dakota, and it's a hot spot through here. Everything along the Missouri is a hot spot. I seen one just straight in front of me light up and just disappeared. And then I seen one over here to the northwest was coming towards me and just disappeared. So we the only reason why they're not really reported out here is there's two reasons. Like you said, there ain't a whole bunch of population out watching at night. And second, this is the Bible Belt. This is where, a lot of the non-Indian people are Christians, and they don't want to believe in that or acknowledge that.
Mm.
But us Native people, we do, because we always seen them, So you kind of see the difference there.
Oh yeah, for sure.
And that's why,
And so as far as the natives go, do you attribute them to being things from from outer space, or are they attributed to be connected to spirits, or what is the outlook on them?
Well, it's actually two things. Lots of times when we see the lights in the sky and they're moving, I got different names for them. I got some I call slow pokes because they move real slow. Then I got some that are runners that are very fast. And then I got some that it's like they skip, They come on, they go off, they come on, they go off, And so those, what I consider those to be, is they are UFOs, But the ones that are spirits is what we see. They look like a falling star. And what happens is they get real bright. They light up real bright in the ball, and then they disappear. And those are the ones we consider our deceased relatives that are coming back and checking on us.
Okay. It's almost like a shooting star, sort of what you would see with the shooting star.
Yeah. But this it gets really bright and they just disappear. And we know that's our relative.
Yeah.
So we always make prayers, or we acknowledge them, And that's just how we believe,
Yeah.
That's what I was taught to believe,
Well, then it makes a lot of sense too, truthfully, because when you look at that, the behavior of something like that is totally different from the behavior of what we consider to be UFOs. So there's no doubt that those two are not the same. So, and I could see the spiritual value in something that would light up, shine really brightly, and then kind of fade out. I could see that as being something considered spiritual, or like a message, or like a wink. You know what I mean? So that totally makes a lot of sense. Here's what we're going to do. We have about 1 minute left here, and we actually are going to take a 5-minute break here. So we'll take like 3 breaks during our interview tonight. And what we're going to do, I want to come back from the break and get into some real good stuff about some of the things that you've personally experienced, because I know we've talked prior to this, and you have let me know that you've had experiences with spirits, ghosts, UFOs, and even the big guy, the Bigfoot as well, amongst other things. So I definitely want to get into that, because we talk about this all the time on this channel. But I think the unique thing is getting the native perspective on what these things are. All right. So we'll be getting into that. So everybody kick back and relax. We are getting ready to go into this break here, and we'll be back with Jim White from the Santee Dakota Nation right here on Spaced Out Radio, the After Hours Radio Show. You guys make sure you don't go anywhere. Sit back, relax, get some popcorn, get a beverage, grab a friend, and bring them back to the show, because we'll be back in just a minute. Stay tuned. All right, Jim. Okay.
Yes.
All right, we're on a 5-minute break here. So we can just chit chat, and then we'll go back into the actual stories and things after this break. So how have you been, sir?
I'm good. Rob, I almost died of COVID
Wow.
in 2019, the beginning of 2020. So I got a lot of bad COVID effects,
Mm-hmm.
like asthma, and then I got a scarred left lung, and the lack of energy. Like pre-COVID, I'm a working guy, I'm always working, and I'm just now getting back to where I can work today. Like today, I spent like 3 hours mowing my new Sundance grounds. I got a bigger place because I got more and more people coming all the time,
Mm-hmm.
and so I mowed for like 3 hours, and it was hard work, but I got it done, and I'm just what I want to do. I just want to share my knowledge
That's right.
before my time comes, and I've been on other radio shows. I've been Beyond the Strange or Dave Cruz,
Mm-hmm.
and I was on a show with some lady from Sedona, and another one from Asheville, North Carolina, and I'm just trying to get my stories out and to let people know, hey, you're not crazy when you see these things.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's other people that seen the same thing, and we're in your corner, that type of thing.
Exactly.
Because
Yeah.
otherwise, you get ridiculed a lot out here,
Oh, really? With
Oh yeah,
ridicule? Oh, okay. Yeah. This is the Bible Belt.
And a lot of the natives, they're scared to do things like this because they don't want to get ridiculed. We got a lot of natives got all different types of stories and stuff, but they're scared to share them.
Okay.
Because they figured somebody's going to say they're crazy, and they just don't want to go through that.
Wow, I didn't know that. That's actually pretty insightful. I mean, and it makes sense though, especially being in the Bible Belt, that would be the case, because we know religion versus what we're dealing with here. A lot of religious like to write it off as things that have happened in the Bible or attributed to specific things, and they're actually calling these things demons in some cases. And and it's all based off religious belief, because I don't know if they would have any proof to really say that these things are demonic unless they've had encounters themselves. But I don't think, maybe they have, but I think more of that judgment comes from just their religious belief, and then saying, okay, well, this can't be anything but what it says in this book. You know what I mean? So I think that's one of the bad things there. One of the closed-minded things, I'll say.
Yeah. The difference between spirituality and religion is spirituality is free.
Yeah.
You can open your mind to the universe, and that's one of the things the Spirit told me about 2 years ago. And they said, you can pray out there into the universe too, not just here on Earth. And where I think religion is a controlled, fear-based prayer.
Yeah. It has to be written in the book. If it's not written in the book, they won't step outside the book, won't open the minds up to think outside of the book. And I've always said I thought the book was a lot of metaphors and not, specific exact things to hang your hat on. And, if you look at it more like a book of metaphors, then you should be able to approach other things with an open mind. And I think that's one of the battles. And that's what's going to be, interesting to find out as we get closer to disclosure, if, how they're going to handle it or how they're going to approach it. It's going to be interesting to see.
Well, going back into Christianity, they created demons. They created Satan, they created all that to keep the people, I believe, keep them in check, where in our way, we didn't have demons or anything like that. we had just things that taught you lessons of what, don't do it again. Yeah, it's all right to do this, you know.
All right. Hey, James, we're coming right back right now.
Okay.
All right. Welcome back to Spaced Out Radio. Hour 0.5 means we're on the back half of the first hour. And we're having a very good, interesting conversation with Jim White of Santee Dakota Nation, giving us a lot of Native perspective. And, you know, we were talking during break, some things we're going to get into here in a moment. But first of all, space travelers, we're all traveler space guys. We already know that. Once you consider taking the next step and join the club, that's right, you can join a Spaced Out Radio Space Travelers Club for as little as $5 a month. As we go ahead and jump back into the conversation with Jim White of the Santee Dakota Nation. So, Jim, you were saying something interesting during the break, and you kind of pointed out the, I guess, dichotomy of you know why it is that some natives aren't coming forward to talk about these things, these UFOs. You pointed out being that where you're located is within the Bible Belt, so there's a level of ridicule that has to be thought about before being open enough to come out and say things. I guess what saying that, then what is it that separates you from the rest? Like, what made you say, okay, forget the stigma, let me get out here and inform everybody what's going on?
Well, the reason why I'm coming forward and sharing a lot of this information is because I'm tired of living in fear. You know, everything is fear-based that's been put on us Native Americans, you know, from the government to the schools to everything. And everything is been made to make us fearful and obedient. And so when we're fearful and obedient, we forget about our history and our culture and our spirituality. So that's why I'm stepping forward and saying, hey, that ain't us. This is us over here. And that's why I want to share, you know, a lot of my experiences tonight.
Yeah, and you would you know you would think for sure that prior to colonization and the Bible Belt even being a thing, that these stories were told openly amongst everyone within the tribes. I mean, this is just part of the experiences, right? That you've always had. So, you know, it's sad to see. It's sad to see something that was so free and open be suppressed in that way. You know, based on some ridicule there, and I guess it makes you brave to be a standout and be one of the ones, because hopefully you get others that come behind you. Because like I told you in the beginning, I believe a lot of the answers and experiences that we would like to hear and have part of the conversation come from the Native community. Because I think I really, you know, going back thousands and thousands of years and really having an understanding of what these things could be, and just different explanations. Because when you talk to people here in society, there's nuts and bolts explanations for this or for that. But then when you sit down with the Native person, then you get a whole spiritual side of it in a whole different meaning of what these things could be and their purpose. So, you know, going back and if we talk about something like that, like what is the overall, I know you discussed that shooting stars are looked at as relatives, past relatives. What is the thought of these things that are coming from another planet? So when you guys sit down and talk about, okay, that's a UFO, like what is the general consensus amongst everyone as far as, are these things from outer space, or how do you look at these things or UFOs?
Well, what I learned through ceremony is a lot of these things are a different life force from out in the universe, and I believe they come here. And you know the reason why I believe they come here is us as human beings. We still have a soul, but we also have ability to pray, to do prayers and ceremonies, And so with that kind of energy, I believe it attracts them. Because every time we have ceremony here, you'll see all these lights moving all over. You'll see orbs floating around.
Wow.
You know, you just sense things here because it's in a ceremony state. And I believe what it is, it's like a magnet. It attracts them.
That is so interesting.
Yeah.
Because when you look at it, you look at like pictographs and then the old art on rocks and things of that nature that depict these things, and it would make sense that they would be seen more if they were attracted to the energy from ceremonies. I just want to say that, but go ahead and finish up.
Well, I'm gonna tell you about one of my UEP ceremonies I had down here at my house. Okay.
And before you start that, can you explain to everybody what a UWIPY ceremony is?
Okay. I'm sorry. A UEP ceremony is one of our older, more powerful ceremonies. And what it entails is the UEP man, like me, I got a cabin here that I have. It's a ceremony house, I call it. So when I have a UEP ceremony, I have helpers, 3 or 4 guys that sing. And what they do is they tie me up in a star quilt, and they tie me up like a mummy with a rope. And they put the noose around my neck, and they tie my body tight, and I look like a mummy. And then they lay me on the ground or on the floor on a buffalo robe.
Yes.
And then they turn off the lights and they start singing the spirit songs. Well, what that entails is I'm a human being and I'm in a hopeless state. I'm hopeless because I can't even help myself. I can't even move. And so what I do is I pray and I sing, and the creator, the spirits, or God, however you want to say it, comes and takes pity on me and comes to me because I'm sacrificing myself for the prayers of somebody or somebody that needs to be doctored, And so in that ceremony, the spirits, they communicate with me. It's usually through telepathy. Sometimes it's they talk in our Dakota language, or sometimes it may even be a song. And at the end, they untie me, so I'm unbound. And then we finish the ceremony, we turn on the lights, and then I tell all the people in there what the spirits told me.
Wow.
It's very powerful. You have to be in it to know it. Yeah, know what I mean?
Yeah. I've seen some images of what you describe of being tied up like a mummy. I've seen that. And so it's great to hear you explain the process and what's behind that.
Yeah. But anyway, this one UEP ceremony we had, Rob, it was for my cousin Wyatt. And he had some bad stuff going on against him. And so we had a UEP ceremony. And they tied me up. And so they started singing. I started praying. And on the west side of my house is a hill here. And there's a fence line that keeps cows out. Well, anyway, this being came, a star person. And what it looked like was like a 8 to 10 foot. It looked like an angel. And it was amber in color. And it floated above the ground. And then the people that had bad prayers against my cousin, when they would come, it would absorb those bad prayers. So it wouldn't hit him or it wouldn't hit me. And it absorbed those bad prayers. Wow. And when the ceremony was over, it disappeared. And it was life changing for me because I didn't think there was nothing really like that, but that's what happened here. And so I took it as a way, it was for spiritual protection for me and for my cousin and for my home here where I have all the ceremonies.
So do you think, because you almost describe like someone from the UFO world would hear that description and say, okay, that sounds like a shape-shifting sort of orb, some of the things that are caught on camera a lot, where they take different shapes, that some have been shaped like angels and then turn into a ball. And so I would want to know, if from your perspective, if you think that the thing that you saw could be tied potentially to the phenomena, as far as just like you said earlier, these energies and orbs seem to come around when you have ceremonies. Do you think in this instant that you're talking about that the object was potentially something anomalous?
Well, this one was different. Okay. This one I know came out from the universe, because all these years of doing these ceremonies, I never seen nothing earthbound like this, earth-based. So I knew it came from the stars, and I only had that one experience so far. I never had another one since. So that tells me it did its job on protecting me, protecting my cousin, and protecting its home, my home. Otherwise, it would come back again to help more. You see what I'm saying?
Yes. Are you familiar with CE5, the CE5 protocol, Close Encounters of the Fifth Kind?
I've seen a little bit on YouTube, but I never fully watched it.
Okay.
Because, you know what? This is our CE5. We've been doing this for years.
That's the point I wanted to make, really, because it sounds like, CE5 is a group of people or a person will kind of get into a meditative state, sort of, and summon, or in some cases they say summon or call in these orbs and things, and they just show up during the CE5 experience. And it sounds very much like what you're describing within the ceremonies, and it just goes further to point to, maybe these things do get attracted off of energies. And I agree. I think, for sure, you guys have been seeing these things forever, and I think you guys are doing, like, unknowingly, like it's literally almost the same thing, like calling these things in. But you guys aren't trying to call them in, right? I'm assuming, but they seem to be attracted to your ceremonies.
Exactly. Sometimes we do call in spirits for help, but this particular case was just different, because I never had a ceremony where that being came, and what it did was to me was amazing, and so I'm just lucky to have it that time. You know what I mean?
Definitely.
I feel very lucky.
Let me ask you this: are there any, like, teachings or prophecies within the tribe that specifically call on things from another world?
Okay, I'm gonna share something with you. Okay, the Pleiades system.
Yeah, I'm
the star
familiar.
System,
Yes,
Pleiades.
yes.
Well, in the Pleiades system, we call them the Seven Sisters, or some of us call them the Seven Grandmothers. And in these each one of those stars has a name. Okay.
Okay.
The first one is the White Buffalo Cap Pipe Woman. That's kind of like our Jesus. Okay.
Okay.
And her domain was this North American continent. The second one was the Corn Woman, and her domain is basically South America, from Chile, all the way up to, Panama. That was her domain. Then we had what we called the Holy Mother. And I don't know what her domain is. Then we had one called White Star Woman, Red Star Woman, Blue Star Woman, and then the last one was Turtle Woman. And each one of these grandmas had a domain on this Mother Earth where their teachings and their way of life and their ceremonies was going to be kind of like the spiritual law of that particular land. And so today, even though we got all these different forms of religion and different spiritual groups here, still on the North American continent, the white buffalo cat pipe woman is the way of the land. Do you see what I'm saying?
Yeah, I'm hearing you.
And so like Buddhism and all these other things, they're here, but to me they're only here as guests because they got their own domain where they came from, and that's where they originated from. But they all moved over here. So what I'm saying is the white buffalo cat pipe woman is the spirit of peace and compassion. And that's what attracts them here.
And is it, as you said, Palladian star system, right? So
yeah, Pleiades, yeah.
Pleiades, okay, because that sounds familiar. Well, it sounds like one of those species of extraterrestrials, and I'm not fully versed on all the different species out there, but I think they call one of them Palladians, right?
Well, they are Palladians.
Okay.
Those seven sisters, they are Pleiades because they're if you want to look at them with your eyes and know that they're real, just look at the stars. Okay. Those stars are those spirits, those grandmothers.
Okay. And so do they directly tie into the Palladian extraterrestrials that people talk about? Are these one and the same, or?
I believe they're probably one and the same,
Okay.
But what I truly believe, and my uncle taught me, was that these seven sisters, seven grandmothers, are the Pleiades. Everything comes from them. You kind of see what I'm saying?
Yeah. I just wanted to make sure because it would have been pretty coincidental that they carried the same name essentially. So, okay, so that makes sense because that's another thing I wanted to do, in that you kind of tied a knot there between something from the traditional UFO world into the native folklore and kind of married the two, which I think is cool because I think it goes further into the point that the native perspective is to me the correct perspective when it comes to talking this out and trying to figure out what it is that we're dealing with. So that's actually a lot of great information there. I do have something here. So are there, I know you stated like where you're at now, you called it Facebook Kill. And that's funny. That's actually, and just so everybody knows, he calls it Facebook Kill because that's where they're able to get the reception on the reservation. So that's actually funny. But is there any specific part of the reservation that is more susceptible to seeing UFOs, or would it be where you're at now, Facebook Kill?
Well, I think it's the whole reservation because the Missouri River borders us right here. And even like my grandpa would always say, I don't know why, but they're always along the water for some reason, And we got the Lewis and Clark Lake here east of me, And my grandpa and my uncles talked about these balls would go into the lake, and they're like silver balls. You know what I mean?
Yeah, silver balls. Okay, tell me more about those, because those actually last week, just by coincidence here, we had a guy on the show who filmed in Colorado a hovering silver ball in the sky, and these things are seen a lot, like the Mosul orb. There's other examples of it. So could you tell us about that?
Well, the ones that were here that, like I said, my grandpa and my uncles seen,
Mm-hmm.
they were always around the lake in the Missouri River here. And like they said, they would go into the lake. Maybe sometimes they would come out right away. Sometimes they wouldn't come out for a long time. And so we knew there had to have been something with the water or the dirt that attracted them, but we don't know what it is, we just seen what happened.
Yeah. And what year was that approximately, if you had to guess?
Oh geez, that's when I was like 15 years old, and we used to work on a ranch over here, 15 to 18, and I'm going to be 60. So that was 30, 40 years ago.
Yeah, it's just interesting to know that was the experience, these silver balls, and then their interaction with water too, which obviously, if everybody watching now knows that's a thing. We actually talked about USOs just the other day, these underwater submersible objects. So what is your theory on, if you had to just guess on what the relationship is between these things and water, and is there like some sort of anecdote that you can give for why they are interacting with water?
Well, in our native way, the first medicine that you use to doctor another human being, it's water. Water is our first medicine. And so I'm thinking there's something in it that they leave, or they take, or they surround themselves, because water also can hold memory.
I may have heard that somewhere. You can explain if you like.
Well, there were some scientific studies, I think it was in Japan, where these scientists found out that, like water, you could talk to it nice, and you get a better result, or you could talk to it negative, and you're going to get a negative result. But recently, they said that it could hold memory, consciousness. So I'm wondering if they come down, are they looking for some consciousness or memory, or are they leaving it? You see what I'm saying?
Okay. That now we're spicing it up. Okay, Jim. So what we're gonna do real quick here is we're gonna go ahead and get ready to jump into our bottom of the hour break, and I'd like to continue that conversation on the other side, as well as getting into the spiritual and interdimensional part of this, and what your perspective on that is as well. So for everybody else, dig in, kick back, sit back, get ready to get into some really good conversation here with Jim White of the Santee Dakota Nation, as we are right back after this break.
Conversations that move the needle.
Conversations that move the needle.
You're listening to After Hours with Mr. Rob G on the only place where you can own the night. Spaced Out Radio.
Spaced Out Radio.
You've tuned your dial to the right frequency.
All right, Jim, and we're going to be going on a music break right now, so I'll talk to you in about 5 minutes.
Okay.
All right. All right, everybody, welcome back to Spaced Out Radio after hour number 2. We're already in after hour number 2, as we have about 30 seconds before we come back here with our guest, Jim White of the Santee Dakota Nation. We got about 20 seconds here before we kick back from radio. So you guys kick back and get ready. And if you have questions, definitely make sure you post them in caps so we can pose them at the end of this hour. And here we go, 10 seconds to go. Welcome back to Spaced Out Radio after hour 2, the After Hours Radio Show. As we get back into it with our guest Jim White from the Santee Dakota Nation, we're talking the Native perspective on alien spirituality, everything above. It's been a pleasure speaking to him thus far. We have a lot more to go here. Don't forget, you guys, if you're listening, you can follow us on X and Instagram at Spaced Out Radio, Spaced Out Radio Show. Please consider going on over there and giving us a follow as we jump back into the conversation here with Jim White. So, Jim, I wanted to touch on something. We spoke prior to the show, and you said something to me that kind of really resonated with me. And I'm just paraphrasing. If you could clarify this, I know you told me something like, you know, the people want the native word or the perspective, but they don't want to accept the native people. Can you kind of maybe correct what I just said and elaborate on what you were meaning by that?
Well, you know, lately I told my Bigfoot experience. You know, I shared that at a couple conferences, and I did a couple interviews, and I kind of noticed that they want my information and they want my background, but they don't really want to bring the natives out into the speaking scene, you know. Like some are not invited, even though they got a lot of experience and a lot of background and been doing it even longer than me, you know. And so I kind of noticed that we're just not really added on, I guess.
Yeah. And I'm glad, you know, we got a chance to say that on air, because I think that's a shame, you know, because as I said many times before, I think, you know, any native that wants to talk should be able to do so, because there's a lot of value to the perspective that's being given, especially when it comes to this genre that we're in. So it boggles my mind that would be the case. And I hope by you doing what you're doing today and on other shows, that you kind of open that up and just make it more acceptable. I just can't understand why that would be the case. But I did want to make sure that we touched on that. Now, what I would like to do is kind of move into like, what is the perspective on beings that we consider to be interdimensional or spiritual? You know, you have like, and I guess this will segue us into your experience with, you know, Bigfoot and spirits, ghosts, things of that nature. But what do you think, you know, what is the perspective on that other realm that these things potentially live in? Like, is there any what outlook do you have on that?
Well, Rob, can I tell you about my Bigfoot experience, and then that way I can kind of tie it together?
Yeah, for sure.
Okay. It was approximately 7 years ago, about this time of year, okay? And me and two other guys, we were working for the tribe, cutting firewood for our elders, you know, getting ready for winter. And so on the reservation here, about 2 miles from my place, we're up this draw cutting these woods that were dead and they fell down, and you know, for firewood. And it was early in the morning. I'm gonna say like 8:30, 8:45, somewhere like that, since you know our central time. And each one of us went up. There's 3 draws, you know, 3 little valleys that had dead wood. And so we went up and we started cutting wood. and I was cutting wood, not very much into it, maybe 5 minutes into it, start cutting, and I felt something staring at me. Because you could tell when somebody's staring at you, you know, you could feel it.
Yep.
And so I looked, and I thought it was Doug, you know, I thought it was JR, and they were busy cutting wood. And I'm like, geez. So I started cutting a little bit more, and I still felt it. And finally, I started looking all the way around me, and farther up the hill was this probably 20-foot tall cedar tree. I seen this being behind it, this creature. It was like 8 or 9 foot tall. And the best way I could describe it is it looked like the creature on Predator, the movie.
Wow.
It was massive. And it scared the beans out of me. I got scared. I turned off that chainsaw and I pretty much kind of ran down because I had to dodge the fallen trees. And I yelled at those other two guys. I said, let's get out of here. And they were like, we just got here. I said, I'm going. And they came and they jumped in the truck and we got out of there. And I didn't tell them what I seen, okay? But it really scared the heck out of me.
So
so anyway, we came back to my house here and I said, man, I need some coffee. I need to, you know, bring myself down, you know. And that's what we did.
Let me ask you this. When you say it was like Predator, do you mean just in stature and size, or do you mean that it cloaked itself like Predator?
It cloaked itself.
Ah, okay.
And it was huge. It was huge. It was I knew it was a Bigfoot. And can I tell you the reason why I know it's a Bigfoot?
Yes, please.
Bigfoot uses medicine to cloak itself. Okay. And what I mean by medicine is different trees, different plants, even dirt that it can use to cloak itself, where you can not see, you can see through it, but if you really look, you could see an outline of it.
Mm-hmm.
And so I knew about this over 7 years ago. So check this out, Rob. Since then, I've been doing ceremonies here, all the time. And I seen it come. It kept coming closer and closer to my house over the years, not just right away. And one time I seen it, I got my Sundance grounds here. It was standing behind my Sundance grounds, but imagine trying to hide itself behind a skinny tree.
Right.
But what it did is it turned itself into an orange orb, about the size of a silver dollar.
Wow.
Okay. And when we went into the sweat lodge and had ceremony that night, it came into the sweat lodge. And when it came in, it was maybe the size of a dime.
Wow.
And so as I was singing, I asked it in Dakota, I said, are you a Bigfoot? And if you are, spark once for yes and 2 for no. So it sparks once. You know how you like to light you light a lighter?
Yes.
Like that. And then so I said, okay. So, and I asked it in Dakota, what's your name? And so the only thing I could think of was the color orange. So in Dakota, we say Shazi, which is red and yellow, which makes orange.
Okay.
So I said, is your name Shazi? Is your name orange? And spark once for yes and twice for no. And it sparked once.
Wow.
So I created a relationship with the one, okay, through the ceremony. And later on, when we had UEP ceremony here, we had a UEP ceremony, and it was around my Sundance time. This was several years ago. Some of my people weren't getting along together. They were fighting each other. They were mad at each other for some odd reason. And so when he came into my ceremony house, the whole house shook, because I got a cabin. That's my ceremony house. And I felt this big giant hand as I was wrapped up in my UEP blanket. This giant hand picked me up and lifted me up into the ceiling, because I got like a vaulted ceiling, you know?
Yes.
And it lifted me up in the air, this giant hand. And what he told me, he said, tell your people to quit fighting each other because they're going to hurt you. So here I am, 8 feet in the air, being held by a giant hand. And I had to tell my people what he told me. And I told him exactly what I just said. Tell my people to quit fighting, otherwise it's going to hurt me. It's going to drop me. Or if they have compassion and they get along, then he'll let me down loose or gently, and he'll untie me. And luckily they got along after I said that, and he put me down and he untied me. And then he turned into an orb, and he disappeared. We went right through the ceremony house.
Wow.
So that's why I know these things are powerful. I know they can do anything. They don't got limitations like people want to say they do. And they can come from anywhere. And I do believe some do come from the universe. They come from out there. But I also do believe that there's some that are earth-based, you know?
Yeah, I was going to ask you that, actually. So you think some, and so when you say earth-based, and I'm assuming from the universe, or do you mean coming in on spaceships, or do you mean stepping in from another dimension? So I guess that's the first question.
They have no bounds.
Limitations.
They can come in. They can come in either way, either through a ship, or through an opening, or come down from a star. They can come any way. There's no limitation. Wow. And that's also the same thing. What people are finally finding out. That's why people are having sightings now. First of all, there's a lot more people looking right now.
Right.
And the technology is so much better, so they can catch these things, like the cloaking now. So they're like saying, we know it's real, but we don't believe it's real. Yeah. So you see how confused people are?
Yeah.
You know why? That's because of their belief. They weren't raised like me. They're raised in a church. I was raised out here. That's the difference.
Exactly. And that's exactly my point. Yeah, just being open to all possibilities. And that's what I appreciate. I really do appreciate that. And you talking about how this turned into an orb, that goes right along to with some stories that I've heard. I mean, some people say that they've seen an orb right before they saw one of these Bigfoot, or they've seen an orb right after, or they've seen a UFO, and I guess in some cases an orb being considered a UFO. And here's the thing that kind of creeps me out a little bit about this, because I've had, and everyone knows on this channel, they've seen I've had these orb sightings that I got on film in my house, and I've showed them many times here. And I went down a road of, okay, what are these orbs? Because it seems like the orbs were alive in the way they were moving, like organic in a way. And then I went down the rabbit hole of if those orbs are the type of orbs like you described that actually turn into something, like manifest into a physical creature or being. And that's the thing that kind of scares me about it is that, you know, maybe the orbs are you know, maybe these creatures, these physical creatures that we end up seeing, and some people have seen, do take the shape and form of orbs. And if you see an orb, you potentially might have some sort of physical sighting at that point.
You know, the best way to determine that, Rob,
How was
is
that?
do a prayer at that moment. Pray for something that you want to see accomplished, and do that prayer when you see that orb, and then sit back and wait and see what happens. See how that prayer, see if it materializes for the good or for the bad, or nothing happens. Okay.
Okay.
And then you can go, you can know which direction to go with that. But don't just try to analyze it and then get afraid of it, you know, have fear of it.
Yeah.
So do it from a different perspective. Do it from a perspective of prayer. Hey, I'm a human being. I need help. My relative's sick. Can you help me? Can you help my relative? Do it from that perspective once and see what happens.
I will take your advice and definitely do that if I have that again. That's actually great advice. And that kind of leans into, you know, so here's a point that I'll make. I went in to research these things when I had my sighting with these orbs, and I found other people who also videotaped the exact same orbs. And in one of the videos I saw, it actually, this guy had a ring camera that had a speaker on it, so he was able to talk through it like an intercom. And as this orb was being filmed in his garage, he said something through the intercom, and the orb kind of shook and reacted to the voice. And so it that showed me that these things definitely may have some sort of reaction to sound. And then so the prayer aspect of that, where I've heard, you know, but this would be in like extraterrestrial contact, where people have said to say a prayer, and that stops the interaction. And so it's interesting that that's the advice that you give, and I think it's great advice. But can you tell me what is the aspect of, you know, what is it that about prayer that would affect these things in your perspective?
Well, one thing about prayer is you come from a place of love. You come from a place of compassion. You come from a place of wanting a positive outcome, you know, and then hopefully you gain some knowledge or intelligence from that prayer. Where if you're doing it from a fear perspective, of course you're going to have fear. You're going to close your mind. You're not going to listen, and you're always going to be like confused or in a chaotic area, you know. So you gotta decide which way am I going to do the good, compassionate way, or am I going to do the way of fear? And that way you know you have your whatever outcome, you know.
Yeah,
depending on which way you go.
Yeah, I think I'm feeling like you're saying like the fear doesn't allow you to get into that like Zen sort of space that you need to be in to deal with it, right? Because I guess it keeps you all wound up, and not really in the best position to deal with that. And that makes a lot of sense too, because we're talking about frequency and kind of where you need to be frequency wise, and that these things actually are at a potential frequency as well, and kind of being able to deal with and relate to them on that level. That makes sense to me, and I like that. So let me ask you this. Do you feel like because we have other cryptids out there, like you mentioned, the little people, which our guy Travis Moosdus has come on here and talked about a lot. And then there's a long list of other cryptids behind that, right? There's the Bigfoot, there's Mothman, there's all sorts of different cryptids. So some people believe that these cryptids are stepping in like from a dimension or a realm that's like right next to ours, and they step in and out into our existence and out of our existence. What is the perspective that you have on that? And how do the natives look at these other realms, or if there's a different name that you may use for realms?
Well, what you're saying, I'm just going to say exactly, because I agree with all of it. But I'm going to give you a perspective from the UEP part of it, okay?
Yep.
When I'm tied up in UEP and I'm laid down and I go into my prayer and, my song, whatever ceremony song I'm needed to use, I got this thing with what I call like a curtain. That's a curtain or a veil. And it's usually what I've seen in the past. It's like gray. You know how the ashes are from a sweat fire? How they're gray?
Yes.
They're light gray.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I can see through that, and I can see different figures of different things. People, Bigfoot, little people, those are the main ones I see, okay? And so, because I can't see them completely, I still know that they're there. And to me, that's good enough for me. So that's when I do my prayer. My request of prayers, my request for help, and let it go from there. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah.
So I think the reason why those things are showing themselves to people is because I think people are finally opening their eyes.
Yeah.
People had their head in the sand for a long time. They didn't want to believe it. They were taught to, hey, if you talk about this, you're crazy. We're going to put you in an insane asylum, or we're going to, what do you call that? When you push people away, you shun them,
yeah.
And so I think people now are saying, hey, man, I seen something, and I know I've seen something, and I'm not crazy. So I'm not going to allow you to put me in that category or treat me in that way, And so that's why I think everybody's starting to see things now.
Yeah, I understand that. And as we have about 2 minutes left before we go to our next break, I kind of want to get into sweat lodges and because from what I understand, sweat lodges are like healing ceremonies in a way, and I guess you could definitely explain exactly what they are. I guess let's start with that. What is the definition for us to understand what a sweat lodge is?
Well, in our Dakota way, we call it inipi.
Mm-hmm.
And what it means is to purify and to pray. While you're purifying, you also say your prayers.
Okay.
And that's the basis of it, and that's where actually it's kind of like our first ceremony. The beginning of all these ceremonies is the inipi, the sweat lodge, and then everything came after that,
And how does it relate to healing? Are there instances where someone with an ailment goes into this to be healed?
Oh yeah, definitely. Yeah, you can go into sweat lodges and get healed. Say you're going and you got some kind of sickness, while the person doing the ceremony, running the ceremony, they can administer some kind of root or medicine or water or something to make you get better.
Okay.
To help heal you.
Okay, and I'll have you stop right there as we get ready to go to break, and we'll talk on the other side of this. For everybody else, definitely want you guys to stick around. Don't go anywhere as we come back here with our guest tonight. Jim White, Santee Dakota Nation, dropping gems and jewels on us tonight, giving us a native perspective on this phenomena and a lot of other great information that we can walk away and apply to life, I'm sure, in many ways. You guys kick back, don't go anywhere as we go to the home stretch and get ready to wrap this thing up. See you in a minute. Okay. All right. So we have it's just a 5-minute break. So everybody still hears us, just so you know, they hear us talking, but
Okay.
then we'll get on the back end of this. I have a few questions so far that have come through. And I guess this is the time, everybody. Because like I said, you know, when you're in the conversation, it's easy to miss some of these questions. So I know I have a few. If
Okay.
you had posted any questions here in the chat, please make sure to repost them in caps. That way I can grab these questions for Jim. And I would appreciate that.
All right.
Got it, Drew Banky.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, no, Drew's in the audience. He wanted me to ask you something specific, so I'll go ahead and mark that down, and I'll be asking you.
Okay.
And let's see, who else is in the chat that came in late? Let's see, the ferret came through late. Thanks for coming, though. Appreciate you. Lotus Spider, Drew Banky, Resonant, J Truth Seeker, Jessica S. We got Kira stepped in as well. Hey, Kira. We got Tolo. Tolo came in. We had Pat Noble. Thanks for coming, Pat Noble. We got Warden Dragon, who's come in. Let's see who else has come in since we started the show. Let's see. Random Cat. Okay, Random Cat. Thanks for coming on in. Let's see. Dead Fish Cheese Spread. Were you here? I think you were here in the beginning, but I'm going to say hello to you anyways because I like your name. Let's see. Nalacious. Thanks for coming on in. We appreciate you. Deidre C. You were here, but yeah. Hi, Deidre C. Let's see. We got who else is in here? Let's go back. Okay. Kevin Kennedy, thank you. Appreciate you coming in and being a part of this awesome conversation tonight. Jim is enlightening us with knowledge and experience and perspective. And Cat's Tongue, thanks for coming on in. Who else is new to the convo? Blue Cruise. Hello, Blue Cruise. Thanks for coming on in. Let's see. I think that is all for the new people. Okay. Yeah. So, yeah, I was looking at the building of like the lodge, you know, that's used in the ceremonies.
Mm-hmm.
And I was just amazed in the construction that goes into putting those things together. That's amazing.
Yeah.
And then what happens to them afterwards? Do you tear them down, or when you're done with the ceremony? Because I think doesn't it get? Well, I was looking into this. I may be wrong, but I think it said it goes for like 7 or 8 days potentially.
Well, no, like when you put up a sweat lodge, you use it until the willows actually break and rot, and then you rebuild again. And so, like, I got a sweat lodge down here that's been up like 3 years now.
Wow. Okay. It may be. Well, I don't know. It may have been the Uwhippie ceremony or the Sundance. It may have been one of those. But I know I saw something constructed and said everybody from everybody within the tribe comes, and it's held within the building. And someone wants to see a sweat lodge, so I'm going to try to find an image of one if I can find one here, so they can see what it looks like. Let's see.
Can you access my pictures on Facebook, Rob?
Yeah, let me see.
I got one in my sweat lodge with the full moon in the background. It's at nighttime. Real beautiful picture.
Okay. Let me see.
But,
Let me check your page here. Jeez. All right.
it should be near the bottom because I got like 200 and some pictures on there.
It's in your photos.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's see if I can find. All right, we got about 20 seconds before we come back from break, and I'm gonna be looking for this in the meantime. All right, here we go. All right, welcome back to Spaced Out Radio after hour 1.5 as we get on the back half of this hour as we're talking to Jim White from the Santee Dakota Nation. He's been giving us a lot of great information, and we do appreciate him. So with that being said, if you got questions, put them in caps so we can pose them to Jim. Otherwise, you won't get your question answered tonight, and I would hate that. As we get right back into the conversation. So, Jim, we were talking about sweat lodges here, and actually, I think I did find the picture of the sweat lodge. So, for the radio audience, you'd have to go online. I mean, if you can imagine like a something that's shaped similar to an igloo almost, but made out of organic materials, like a hut almost. And here we go. I'm going to show this to the audience. I'll have to switch this around. And all right, let me get this on the big screen. Let me move this out the way. All right, and the audience is looking at the picture of the sweat lodge on your page, which is right there, dead center screen. You see the fire off to the left, and then the beautiful moon right up above, and probably Venus right over there off to the left. But yes, that is a sweat lodge. And as we jump back into the conversation, I wanted to know, Jim, as far as the intent, like I asked you about the healing and if people would go into these sweat lodges with ailments to be cured, and you were explaining that. So if you could go ahead and finish that, and then I have something to say about it.
Okay. Usually when people come and they get healed and they come to the sweat, we have the sweat, we bring in the hot rocks, we use water, it creates steam, but sometimes we administer medicine or different roots or different things to help heal the patient in the lodge. And it depends on what we use. I'm going to give you an example of what I did for one of my aunties. She had cancer, and she had like lung cancer and stomach cancer. And so she wasn't supposed to live very long. And so when me and my uncle, he was married to her at the time, I would have ceremony for her in the sweat lodge, and it would be just us three. And what I used to help keep her cancer in remission was dirt. And in the ceremony, how I ran it is we had one round. I would sing the opening songs, the prayer songs, pour water. Everybody would start to purify, and I would sing. And then when it came to the part for doctoring, we would open up the door, and where the fire pit was, where the coals were burning, we pushed the clothes to the side, and we took the first level of dirt off, and we pushed it to the side. And I would always take the second level of dirt on a shovel, and my uncle would bring it in, and the dirt was hot, but not enough to burn your skin. And so what I did is, she was laying there, I would put the dirt on her back and pray and ask it to heal her. And then we would shut the door, and I'd pour some more water and sing some more doctoring songs and healing songs. And I would use the eagle fan and fan her and fan the dirt. And so usually, lots of times, what she did is she started vomiting, and stuff would come out,
Wow.
in that way. And then when she was done, we'd open the door, and I would push the dirt into the stone pile there, and I would come out, and when she had enough strength, she would crawl out, But that doctoring technique that I used there kept her alive for, I think it was about 9 years.
Wow. So when you
And
say
she only had a year to live, but I extended it for like 9 years through ceremony and spirits and prayer and song.
that is awesome. So when you talk about her vomiting, so is that her almost like purging like the bad part of it, like the sickness? Is that her purging the sickness from her body?
Exactly.
Okay.
And I think a lot of that, when a lot of it was the chemo that she was taking, it was bringing it all out. A lot of blood. It was pretty gross.
Mm-hmm.
But that's what had to come out of her.
Yeah.
The first couple of times I doctored her like that, and she went back to the cancer doctor in Sioux Falls, South Dakota. The doctor asked her, "What are you doing?" And she told him, "Well, I'm going to a ceremony, an Indian ceremony, doctoring ceremony." And he said, "Well, keep it up because it's working."
See, that's awesome. That's awesome. And anybody leaning into this, right? Somebody, because I'm totally in for this, and I'm totally into healings that don't necessarily involve a medical doctor and medicines, pills and things of that nature, because when we go back to our native origin, we're talking about ceremonies and procedures in the same way that you're talking about them here and now, which did not require pills and things of that nature and being under machines and things of that sort. And it almost ties into like the healing energies that the conscious community talks about, being able to heal with just positive energies and things of the same nature. Are you familiar with the whole consciousness healing energy crowd and things that they say in that crowd?
Yeah, but here's the thing, Rob. We got history, and what I mean by that is we got the culture that goes with it.
Oh yeah.
We know the plants and the roots. We know the songs that we need to use to pick these plants and roots. We know the songs and the ceremony we need to use to administer them. And lastly, we know the songs and the ceremony to keep them going, even though, they're terminally ill, but to keep them going where they want to fight and live. So we got all that background here that the government basically tried to extinguish from us, but luckily some of our families held on to it and kept it,
Yeah, that is awesome. That's the truth. that's the truth. I mean, I would lean on that. I would put my hands in the sweat lodge, and I would definitely, if I had, and I'll knock on wood, as hopefully I don't, but if I had some sort of sickness that was terminal, or something I needed to have exercise from me, I would definitely turn to the native tradition of doing this. I would call you up, Jim, and say, hey, this is what I'm dealing with, and could I potentially do a sweat lodge with you? And I would take that route. And the thing is, in what I've said on this show, is that all of us on this planet, like we all have some sort of native root. There was a native people on every piece of land that we have here on this globe, and that there should be a time in your life that you want to reconnect with that. And so that's the mission that I've been on. I've told everybody here, I have native ancestry on both sides of my family, as when we talk about tribes, like the African American part of me, which I guess would be the African tribe. Unfortunately, the history that I would have connected to that is not attainable. But I'm lucky enough to have past that point, Native American heritage on both sides of my family. And my goal is to reconnect and kind of get back to basics, because I think that's what the world needs. The world needs to be able to plug into what you get to experience every day, which is, I think, the most beautiful part of, and the most integral part of us as human beings, is being so connected to Earth and in the ancient practices and the things that really work, instead of this weird thing that we have in society that we think works but doesn't really work, if you know what I mean.
Rob, I'm gonna tell you something, share something with you. The native, everybody's got native in them.
Oh yeah.
And what native is, it's a mindset. Okay. And our mindset has always been love, caring, compassionate, generous, helpful, intelligence, knowledge. That's the native that I wish people would focus on more, and instead of greed and control and power, focus on it's a mindset. And that's why we survived through a lot of negative things that happened to us, but we're still here.
Yes, sir.
Because we still got those core values and those life experiences that unfortunately a lot of people gave up on and went the other way.
Yeah. One other thing I pointed to, this is probably a result of exactly what you said, just forgetting about where we not being connected to the native side of us, is you have it feels like society, and when I say society, I mean the hustle and bustle of the workforce and technology and all these things that don't really mean anything in the long term, that it feels like when you're in that group, you have lost your balance or connection with Earth. And it seems like, you could find yourself like out of sync with nature and Earth, being trapped in this society that we live in. And that's why, that's what makes me want to reconnect so badly with my native side, is because that you've never lost that connection to Earth and the synchronicity between human beings and the natural place that we have here on this planet. So, and I think other people who have lost that connection should feel envious of that and want that connection back. You know what I mean? And that means having native speakers like yourself, like you were saying before, shining the light on what I think is the real path to understanding and figuring out where we are currently in this life. So that's just me giving a blurb there, Jim, because I have to do it, because I think it's true, and it's really on my heart. So I'll let you go ahead and jump in.
Well, Rob, I call it my little 3-acre ranch here. I call it the Blue Spider Ranch, because the Blue Spider is one of my main spirit helpers. and I named it after him. And what it is, it's a spiritual ranch. People come here for doctoring, for healing, for just to get away. They want to come out to ceremony for Sweat Lodge or UEP. We have our annual Sundance. Some people come out for Vision Quest, you know, and some people come out just to learn to pick medicines so they can learn how to use the medicines to help themselves and get them through the year. So that's what this place is right here where I live. It's kind of like an island, a little bitty island in the middle of a bunch of chaos. The best way to describe it.
An oasis.
Yeah. But that's what I teach here, you know. And I like to show. I like teaching by showing people, you know.
Yeah.
It's the way you pick this medicine, and you know, sometimes the medicine you got to sneak up on it. And what I mean by that is, say the wind's blowing and you're walking towards the medicine and the wind's blowing at your back and blowing to the medicine. Believe it or not, it's got a consciousness. It's got a life. It may not give you its best potential, but if you sneak up it from the back where they can't know you're coming and you pick it, you got its full potential. See, there's a lot of things like that I try to teach and try to share with people, so that way they can have a better life. You know, they can keep themselves healthy and happy.
That's awesome. I love that. And Drew Bankey will kill me if I don't get you to talk about sundancing and Sundance, if you wouldn't mind going into that.
Okay, our Sundance ceremony is one time. You do it once a year, okay? And here we usually do it in August, the first week or second week of August, depending on the people and their schedules and everything. But what it is, it's a 8-day ceremony. And so for the first 4 days, we call it purification. And that's when people set up their camps. We cut firewood. We gather stones for the Sweat Lodge. A lot of we pick sage for the crowns and the anklets and the wristlets, and to also smudge. We pick cedar, so we can always have cedar going the whole time. And so that's what we do, you know. And then we got 4 days of dancing, and we usually start early in the morning, like 6 a.m., and we try to be done by 6 p.m. that evening. But we don't dance continuously. We may dance for an hour, and we may take a 45-minute break, and then we may dance for an hour. You know, that way you don't burn out your dancers, and then you don't burn out your singers. But the prayer is still going. You know what I mean?
Right.
That's the main thing, is to get the prayer done, because that's going to create your whole next year. Your fall, your winter, your spring, and your summer. Each day is considered a season. And so you want to have the best days possible, so that way your year's going to go that way. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, definitely.
So really, what you can create your own path for the following year. If you do good in Sundance and everything goes good, more than likely you're going to have a great year. You know. But it's a hard ceremony. I ain't gonna lie to you. It's hard and difficult, but at the end, you feel so good about yourself. Your self-esteem is 110%. The show, you're exhausted. You know, sure, you know, these other things, you're wore down. But as far as your mind and your spirit, man, you're at the top of the world, because you accomplish something that's very difficult, you know.
Well, that is actually a great place to to leave it, because what I want to do is make sure that we have a few audience questions. I want to make sure we go through these. So we'll do these kind of rapid fire. So if you could just give a quick answer on them. So first one is, first I want to say thanks to Wes Decker for showing his love and support of Spaced Out Radio, man. I do appreciate you. Says appreciate how genuine Mr. Rob G is. Keep up the great work and positive messages. This is a great interview, and Jim White is a great guest. So thank you so much for being awesome, Wes Decker. And the first question that we had, came from Sierra, saying, is White Buffalo Woman an actual woman in spirit form, or is it a goddess, or is it an energy?
I would say it's a spirit. Hey, look, there's another falling star just went in front of me. And it just disappeared, like remember I was telling you?
Yep.
Yeah.
A synergy.
Yeah. But no, she's a spirit. She comes from Pleiades. That's what I know.
Okay. All right. Next question is Pat Noble. Do orbs ever enter anyone's body?
I don't think so.
All right.
Because you're, as a human being, you're sovereign. You got your soul and you got your spirit. So not unless you allow yourself to be entered. So.
Okay. And I guess in addition to that question, that was from Pat Noble. So Kim Jellin is asking, so are orbs shapeshifters, in your opinion?
Yeah, definitely.
Okay.
Yep.
All right. And then Super Crazy Movie Geek is asking, is Bigfoot a friend or a foe to humans, in your opinion?
Friend. He's a relative. He's a friend.
Okay. Elaborate on that. Do you think Bigfoot is like offshoot of human being, or as far as its genetics?
What I believe, the Bigfoot, they're their own people, but they're so spiritually advanced that's why I would never catch one. You know.
Okay.
The most you're gonna get is a footprint or a video. You know.
Okay, I like that. I like that perspective on that. And then we got Kim Jellin asking, do many in your family see aliens?
Well, I think I don't know, because they don't talk about it. But some natives I knew that do talk about it, they've seen them. Yes.
Okay, that is awesome. And so that's the last question. And once again, thank Wes Decker for the awesome support of Spaced Out Radio tonight. Okay, so I'd like to take the last, we got about a minute 45 seconds. If there's something on that we haven't talked about that you want everyone to know, please take this time to go ahead and do that.
I'm gonna tell you about Bigfoot with the cloaking.
Okay.
I knew this 7 years ago, and now they're coming out with it like it's something brand new. I always knew they did it. My grandpa and my uncles talked about it all the time. So it ain't nothing new to us at all. And so I know of its abilities that it has.
Okay. And this is what we can do. Since we're out of time on this, that be a perfect reason to bring you back on the show. So how about we set you up to come back pretty soon here so we can continue conversation?
That sounds good, Rob. I hope you enjoyed my knowledge and my information and my experiences that I shared with everybody.
Oh yeah, definitely did. And where can everybody get in contact with you at?
I'm on Facebook.
Okay.
James White, and that's probably my main media right now. You know, I guess that would be the way to get hold of me.
All right, and I'll make sure that we post that link in the description of this video to your Facebook page. Jim, I totally appreciate you coming in and sharing your knowledge with us tonight. It's been a pleasure, and we did this all over the phone, direct from Facebook Hill. So
yep.
I do appreciate you, and I'll be talking to you soon, Jim.
Thank you, Rob. I appreciate it.
No problem. Take care.
All right, you too.
All right. We'll be right back right here on Spaced Out Radio, guys. Don't go anywhere. Hour 3 is on the way.
Hours with Mr. Rob G on the only place where you can own the night. Spaced Out Radio.
Spaced Out Radio.
You've tuned your dial to the right frequency.
right, everybody. Welcome back to Spaced Out Radio. We are in after hour number 3 already. That went quick. Thanks to our guest tonight. Jim White from Santee, Dakota Nation, just really dropping jewels on us as we get ready to come back from our radio break in just a second here. Welcome back to Spaced Out Radio after hour number 3. We're on the home stretch. We're going home. We got a lot of good stuff for you guys on this hour. We got some Steve Stockton, Missing Persons Mysteries coming up. And then our guy, Travis Moostus, will be joining us for the after hours wrap up. Should be awesome. You guys don't go anywhere. Matter of fact, if you're on X or Instagram, at Spaced Out Radio, at Spaced Out Radio Show, consider giving us a follow as we go ahead and get ready to jump into the conversation. I had a really enlightening conversation with Jim, I just got to say. Joining us from Facebook Hill. I couldn't come on camera because there's not great reception over there on the reservation. We need to make sure they get some Skylink or something out there. Elon, send Skylink to the reservations. We need that. As we get ready to jump into some stuff with Steve Stockton right here. Here we go.
Welcome to Tales Untold and Missing Persons Mysteries on Spaced Out Radio's After Hours. My name is Steve Stockton, and I'm here to take you on a journey of mysteries, legends, and true stories. Come, join me on this strange adventure of Tales Untold and Missing Person Mysteries. In 1966, Point Pleasant was a small town with just a few thousand residents located at the junction of the Ohio and Kanawha rivers. In November of that year, the town experienced a disturbance caused by an unidentified being. Gravediggers at a cemetery in Clendenin, West Virginia, about 80 miles from Point Pleasant, claimed to have seen a man with wings flying over their heads and taking off from a nearby tree. 3 days later, 2 young couples who drove near an abandoned World War II TNT plant approximately 5 miles north of Point Pleasant claimed they saw a large flying man with 10-foot wings and red glowing eyes. The individuals tried to flee from the unidentified creature, driving almost 100 miles per hour. However, the beast chased them and pursued them until they reached the city limits of Point Pleasant. Fearing for their safety, they promptly reported the incident to the local authorities. The media dubbed the creature Mothman, and the story gained national attention, making Mothman a sensation. During the following week, there were at least 8 additional reported sightings of a bird-like creature with massive wings in and around Point Pleasant. Captain Paul Yoder and Benjamin Enochs, who were volunteer firefighters, provided one of these accounts. As per the Gettysburg Times, Yoder and Enochs reported seeing a bird of considerable size with red eyes that were equally large. Some individuals dispute the reported sightings, suggesting that the people of Point Pleasant may have observed a sandhill crane that had deviated from its usual migration path. There were hundreds of eyewitnesses, says Jeff Wamsley, owner of Point Pleasant's Mothman Museum. Born and raised in the town, Wamsley was only 5 years old when the Mothman appeared and began terrorizing his neighbors. Throughout the following year, peculiar incidents persisted. Point Pleasant authorities received an influx of reports detailing UFO sightings and encounters with mysterious men in black. Furthermore, the sightings of Mothman persisted. A tragic incident occurred in 1967, just 10 days before Christmas. During rush hour traffic, the Silver Bridge, which connected Point Pleasant to Gallipolis, Ohio, collapsed and caused the death of 46 individuals. According to some reports, there were sightings of the Mothman at or even on the bridge shortly before its collapse, and it was believed that the creature's presence was a sign of the impending disaster. Wamsley says, the fact that the UFO sightings, Men in Black presence, and the Silver Bridge disaster all happened during the Mothman sightings intrigues many people. It's a fascinating turn of events for a small town like Point Pleasant. According to Wamsley, the residents of Point Pleasant had an encounter with something indeed out of the ordinary. I just don't believe that many people could have made up the same story, says Wamsley. But what it was they saw, I don't believe will ever be truly explained or solved. The Legend of Spearfinger. Several creepy legends associated with the Appalachian Trail originate from the Cherokee people. One of these legends is about Spearfinger, which has been used to frighten children for generations. Spearfinger is described as a witch-like hag who can disguise herself as a friendly old grandmother or even a family member. Spearfinger lurks around the Smoky Mountain's highest peaks as she focuses on children who have wandered away from their homes and parents. These children are usually afraid, which Spearfinger takes advantage of as she tells them she'll help, but her antic is to sing them to sleep slowly. She then uses her finger, made of obsidian, to gouge out their liver and eat it before them. And now we have a story of a young girl who spotted a ghost while camping on the Appalachian Trail. While hiking with her parents on the Appalachian Trail, a young girl experienced her first encounter with the paranormal. The trio made camp for the night, and as her parents slept, she became frightened by something that kept her from being able to rest. The following day, after the eerie night passed, the girl took a brief walk with her mother before they continued their hike. While walking around and enjoying each other's company, her mother suddenly stopped and stared blankly into the distance. The young girl followed her mother's gaze and saw a hazy apparition against a tree a few yards from where they were standing. The man appeared calm but sad, and then he faded away, leaving the tense mother and child bewildered and fearful. The Legend of the Scorched Man. While hiking along the Appalachian Trail, it's not uncommon to experience inner fears and imagine being followed or pursued by unseen humans, animals, or forces. In 2011, a confident man decided to take a week off from work and hike the trail alone. At first, the hiker's journey went well until a terrifying incident occurred that left a lasting impression. On his first day, as he made his way down the trail, night fell, prompting him to set up camp. While alone in the dark, the man heard strange noises approaching his tent. Although slightly alarmed, he wasn't bothered enough to investigate the source of the sounds. The following day, he continued hiking and set up his camp before nightfall. While sitting around his fire later that evening, he was left shocked when he saw a man with badly burned hands, a burned body, and a smoking face standing near his firewood. This experience shocked and left him numb as the burned figure gazed at him before walking away. The terrified man decided to pack up his belongings and leave the area immediately, only to come across a recently burned down house with a sheriff outside. The sheriff told the man that the entire family burned alive in the house 4 days prior. Was the apparition that the man witnessed among those that had perished in the fire? Next, we have another phantom encounter on the trail. During a hike on the Appalachian Trail in May of 1972, a lone hiker encountered what appeared to be a ghost from another time. While on the hiker noticed a dense ground fog surrounding him, which startled him. As he looked up, he saw a prominent figure walking towards him, wearing a heavy coat and wide-brimmed hat. The phantom slowly staggered about, its eyes facing the ground as if searching for something it had lost. This figure then started walking towards the frightened hiker, still looking at the ground, which made the hiker move aside to avoid being bumped into. As the phantom crossed his path, he suddenly looked at the hiker with cloudy blue eyes, which seemed to stare directly through him. What surprised the hiker the most was that the man's clothing seemed to come from a different period, and he never responded when he tried to say hello. The hiker continued on and looked back for one last glimpse of the eerie figure, only to discover the man had vanished. And what about the story of mysterious abduction by unknown people? Now, there have been accounts of individuals being abducted while hiking and later found after becoming extremely disoriented. In 1988, a hiker had a terrifying experience that, to him, was even more frightening than encountering an apparition. As the man was hiking along the trail, he noticed a bright light emanating from the forest behind him. He was not bothered by anyone, nor did he investigate the source of the light, but he decided to set up camp for the night somewhere nearby. Later, he was awakened by a strange man standing over his hammock. The unfamiliar, lurking man also got startled, fled, and yelled to some other unseen people that the hiker was awake. Being terrified by this incident, the hiker quickly packed up his gear and hurriedly continued his hike to put more distance between himself and the unseen people. He continued hiking nonstop for some time. Nevertheless, While resting in his hammock some nights later, he was cut down, wrapped up, and dragged away to some undisclosed location. Unknown people beat him mercilessly as they shouted to one another while others prepared something. Luckily, the hiker got a chance to cut through his hammock and escape. He reported the incident to the authorities, but the officials never found anyone responsible for attacking him that night.
And that, ladies and gentlemen, is Steve Stockton, Missing Persons Mysteries. Always intriguing. And just the thought of it is that he's telling true stories about actual people missing. Like, these aren't made up fictitious things. These are stories, and that's the tragic part of it, right? Wow, another awesome one from Steve Stockton. Definitely appreciate Steve Stockton being a part of the After Hours family, the After Hours radio show right here on Spaced Out Radio. But now, as you see on the screen, it is now time for the After Hours wrap up. And on Saturdays, you know who we do that with. We do that with our guy, Travis Moostos. So let's go ahead and bring the guy in. Come on in, Travis.
You're an irredeemable monster!
Come here, I'm gonna eat you! Get in my belly!
Kick him in the north! Kick him in the north! Do it! Wolfman's got north! You're a monster!
All right, Travis Moostos joining us with the After Hours wrap up. Sir, how are you tonight?
Oh, doing excellent there, Rob. It's going good. And yeah, I'm happy to be here right now, chilling out. And excellent show tonight. I was tuning in for a good last good half hour, an hour of it there. I'm pretty sure. I was like I said, I just got off work. So I you know what's funny is, like, the week just kind of went by and I didn't even realize it was Saturday. I was, whoa.
Yeah, he was like, huh? And I was like, Travis, Saturday. What are we doing? He was like, that's awesome.
What's going on?
That's awesome. So I'm glad to have you here, Travis, especially on this day, right? We had an awesome guest, Jim White from Vicente, Dakota Nation, and dropped a lot of gems on us tonight. You know, we had an awesome conversation. I know you caught the last part of it, and I saw you in the chat, and I saw you nodding in agreement with a lot of things that were being said. And so, you know, that's awesome. And I kind of wanted to get your feeling from, I mean, you talked about some of the little people in the beginning, at the beginning of the interview, and I'm like, I said, Travis talks to us about the little people. Like, this is definitely a thing, right? And so he confirmed it, and he even went in more into detail as well. So, yeah, I mean, awesome conversation. And how did you feel about it? And what were some of the things you wanted to point out? Because I saw you say in the chat that pay attention is some dangerous information, and make sure you're paying attention. Right. Yeah.
Well, first off, let's just get into I just want to say that we are all beacons of the universal flow of love in the universe, and that's true, you know, and that is very true. Although I just, you know, the whole intention when you're out there, when you're picking medicine, is that you are because we honor that it's truth, right? And living your truth and what your true intentions are when it comes to medicines, and medicines will hide from those who don't have true intentions or good intentions with them, right? So when he's mentioned that you have to run up and sneak up on them, it's kind of pulled me back a little bit, because, you know, that's usually not a good sign, in my opinion, when I see that kind of thing or hear that kind of thing. But also, too, another thing is we don't ever do sweat lodges at nighttime. I mentioned this; it's a very dangerous practice. For one, that it could allow in dark spirits, and bad things could happen, and people could lose their life in those kind of situations. Very dangerous. Nothing to play around with. Some people do out there, like I said, but like, it's very dangerous practice, and we out here up in the north, it's kind of outlawed in a sense, and for good reason.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah. Oh, and also too is we don't. It's not a good thing to take pictures of like sweat lodges and things like that. It's usually, that's how come when people are like, "Can you show us a picture or anything?" I'm like, "Sorry, we're not allowed to take pictures of the lodges or anything." Like, even as a kid, growing up, we're told not even to go play in them or lay down or sleep in them or anything, because you can, your spirit can leave the body and go and then not return, or you can die there, right? And certain things like, we're very respected, right? And so like we don't ever share pictures like that of the lodges like that, eh? And it's just kind of, so to me, I was just like, okay, I better, it's like, I can understand that, but some people may have a different feeling about it. But even that's the traditional powwow, there was a lot of times like we weren't allowed to take pictures of like a lot of the things going on there until like everything was over, the ceremonies were completed and stuff. Like, the last final day I was able to finally get a picture of the teepees kind of deal. You know what I mean?
Right.
But yeah, and so and there are ceremonies that do go overnight, like I'm gonna be honest with you, but they're started during the day. You know what I mean? Like they're started in the daytime and then they go overnight, but then you have, usually the sacred fire has to keep going. You can't have it go middle of the night or anything. Like it has to keep going right into the next day when you complete the ceremony, or however long it's going to go for, right? Depending on that level of ceremony, right? So one time we had a sacred fire go for 4 days, and we had to have people there constantly watching it overnight and stuff too, and things like that. So like, there are certain things, but like I said, usually lodges and those kind of ceremonies don't take place during the night because of that whole, like I said, the dangers of it, right?
Wow, that's interesting. So let me ask you this, because it would assume, and this would make sense if it's true, that is it possible that some tribes have different ceremonies than others, potentially based on region? Like if you looked at a tribe, say from the tip of Southern America, and then you go as far up north as you can, up in Canada. I think you guys are like the furthest north, right? Cree? I was looking on the map. I think you guys are like the furthest north.
Yeah.
So
at the top there. Next would be like the North, that's territories kind of deal, and those the bushy Cree Indians and things like that.
So when you look at, and I'm gonna bring up this map, because if you came in the last part, I don't think you got to see this. I brought up this map because I was really trying to illustrate a point that, there's when people think of the United States as this map with all these blocks of states across the country, whereas prior to it being colonized, this is more what it looked like, right? Whereas regions, the tribes inhabited, and we're talking about going all the way from the tip of what is called Canada now, all the way down to the tip of Southern America, just tribes on tribes on tribes, just different tribes all the way down the list. And it just gives you a perspective on how this was all native land at one point in time. And so I would think, the same way that in society today, you have different practices depending on regions. Like down south, they do certain southern things that we don't do here on the West Coast. Is it within the tribal aspect? Is it possible that each tribe can have like a variation of things that they do differently when you go from tribe to tribe to tribe? Like say from the tip of North America down to the tip of South America.
Oh yeah. Well, I'll be honest with you. When I heard him mentioning like the healing with dirt ceremony, like I've heard of such a thing, but it was like it was more like clay, like using of clay and mud, and that was like for broken bones and things like that. And then people would say like that was like in connection with the Bigfoot spirit too. Like that was a teaching taught from Bigfoots. When it comes to, I was just going to mention, sorry, where were we? The maps there prior to I have a map just like that for the Canada. And it is a unique thing to look at. And you could see like how tribes are we're closely, I should say, interacting with each other, and you can see like where the connections were, and you can actually see some of the, like I said, just like some of the areas where the hunting overlap. So it is there. And South Dakota, that's where the white buffalo calf woman went and brought the pipe, and that was one of the first peace pipes in the Americas there, and that was a beautiful moment for the nations all across the Americas and up north, and those teachings like transcended, because that, like I said, those nations, like I said, that the Southern boys came up north and they were able to teach us and show us some of those things when it came to the peace pipe and the Chinampa, right? And when it came down to the white buffalo calf woman, she said she's gonna visit us every generation. So we're always like, that's how come we always, whenever we see a white buffalo and stuff, we're always like very respectful of it and stuff, because you never know, right? Like it might be about white buffalo calf woman again, just watching over us or coming to show her presence. So yeah, and we take it as that too, a symbol of that.
Yeah, there were definitely some things that he mentioned that I've heard you say before. Like he immediately went into little people as like these little people are a thing, and that was like pretty much the first thing that he covered when he came on. I was like, dude, that is wild, because Travis talks about that all the time, and it just shows. And I brought up this map at the beginning of the show, and I kind of went through the whole perspective of like looking at this land as it was. Like imagine if this was still what it should be, right? If it would be this. Yeah. It wouldn't be a map of states and international borders and any of that. It would be just the inhabitants of the native land, right? And it's beautiful to see this because, but it's tragic too, because we know what happened, in order for it to change over to what is now.
180 million people down to like 10 million people. So it'd be like 9.5 million a year, right? And that was like, it's being just considered by historians to be one of the greatest mortality rates of any race of human society today, and I figured, that's part of it. Like even with the medicine wheels, there was 48,000 different type of medicine wheels, right? All with the teachings like that consisted of our different cultures and so like a lot of teachings, there are a lot of them out there, and for the different parts of this, the wheel and our regions where we come from, and how we hold those ceremonies and it's like our connections with the certain things and like the plants. So like out here we treat cancer very differently than how he mentioned it. We have a lot of different roots and different type of things that are made into like like some sort of drinks and different kind of things that are used to help heal people, right? And people do get better, and I've heard of these things, like of people getting better with it, and so like I was very interesting here how he was healing people with just dirt and stuff like that. So I was because it was far different than what my family was taught or knew all these years, and but I'm just saying it's like it's out there, right? Like the native medicine world or whatever, right? And I just wanted to just kind of elaborate on that a little bit there. I don't like to talk too much about like the healings and the things like that too often. Like there are a lot of stories and things I could say and mention, but just out of respect, I choose to kind of just let that be with the spirit world, right? And spirit,
sacred, the sacred part of that. Yeah, I get it.
And because because it's a connection with the universe, and universe it's the spirit of the connection of that with our ancestors and people who use these practices. I think that's what he was trying to get around to, right? And it's like I said, it's not us, it's not me or anyone who's doing the healing or like I said, like creating these miracles or something. It's like it's the connection of the spirit world and connection of these the plant spirit world and the I should say the elements, I should say, you know what I mean? It's it's kind of it's wrong to think like somebody's giving life back to someone, like and they're the ones doing that, because that's you know, you're probably, if they're thinking that, then maybe they're just giving
Oh.
some of their own life to them. You know what I mean? Life
Oh,
force.
right there, Travis. Oh, right there. Finish that thought right after the break as we get ready to come back on the back half of the second hour of Spaced Out Radio After Hours, the radio show, with our guy Travis Mustu stepping in, giving us the after hours wrap up like he does every Saturday. Valuable information to be shared here on this show always. We move the needle, guys. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back. All right, we are clear. Yeah, let's definitely finish that thought. I definitely want you to finish that thought on the other end of this break. But for the meantime, while we kind of just kick stuff around, how was your day, man? How was your day at work?
Oh, very just busy. Yeah, no, I take care of things over there, and then I come home and I try to, you know, just sort out everything here. I've been writing my the 5th book now of the series, so
yeah,
it's just about done. Like I've been just.
Is that what you sent me? Is that what you sent me those pictures of?
Yes,
like
you're getting a sneak peek of the art.
Yeah. Okay. I'm like, yeah, okay. Travis is cooking. He's cooking right now. So, what is this going to be in the same series or new series?
The same continuation. It just it'll have a new revamped title and just to kind of fit the telling of the tale, right? And just like how the Pasquale Mustas is the same. It was the same part of the same series, right? It was just telling like the prequel of it, right? What led up to the events of the 50 years of war, right? And so like now this is kind of just continuing forward with the story now that we established all of the whole world and, you know, all the pre-events and, you know, the things like that. So it's been awesome. Like I said, it's taking the whole story and just like totally advancing it, giving it a version 2 or a version 3 at the same time. You know, it's like just combining all the awesomeness and just unleashing it.
That's why I said this collection, dude. Like you're putting together an awesome collection. Like when you go back and you look at like every entry that you put, once you've completed the story, then it's gonna be this awesome thing. Then it's ready for movie. Then it's ready to write the movie script and shop that thing around. I'll be your agent, dude. I'll be your agent. I'll go and be the mouthpiece and try to help. I'm right by Hollywood, so I go down here and shop the movie, man. Let's get the script together and big budget film, CGI, all the good stuff.
Yeah. I do have an agent, but yeah, that's nice of you to offer.
Oh, you got an agent? Oh, okay. Well, I'll just be your mouthpiece, man. Don't even worry about it. You don't have to put a label on me. I'm just your guy, right? Your right hand guy. And I'll just be out there talking about it.
You can be like my promoter, yeah. You can have me promote it.
Hey, wherever you need me to be, exactly. Just let me know what you need me to do, and then I'm on it, man. Because I got the reach. I'm right here. I could take the 30-minute, 45-minute drive to LA and meet with the person for you. You know what I'm saying? You guys are up there in Canada. Like I could just be your guy to just kind of go and make that connection or whatever. So just let me know where I can fit in and what I can do, because the story is awesome so far, and I can see you you know, if you're adding to it, it's just gonna make it that much more big. You know what I mean?
I feel that, and that's the hope, is I get I get to eventually see it on like a streaming service, or, you know, on the big screen or anything like that. You know, it'd be awesome, especially nowadays with all like the new technology that's just, you know, entering into the film world, where people can just use prompts and set up like a CGI generated background, you know what I mean, and having the people, and that eliminates half of the, you know, the thing right there, right? It's just getting like the setting right, and
you know what would be a good mid step to that would be to maybe hire a voice actor to kind of bring it to life vocally. You know what I mean? Like a bridge to movie, because you hear it vocally and you hear the characters being voiced in the audio version. then it's like, oh, okay, yeah. And then that's, and that'd be pretty easy to do. Maybe even yourself, maybe you can do it,
Yeah. Yeah, the Mars Bug Wars is, my buddy is currently reading it on his own little stream right now. Like, my buddy, he's from the Netherlands, so he ended up buying a bunch of books off me. I ended up mailing them to him through a boat. Anyway, I sent them on a boat, and he ended up getting them, and he's been reading them on his stream. They've been sounding awesome. Like, just to hear them back from another person being read on, like, so I get that. It sounds awesome. And then he's doing his own little effects. He's like, hold on, let me get this. I got this. And he has his own little recording thing there, and he's playing the effects and things. So it is pretty cool. Right? Yeah, so I do see it. I get the vision. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Awesome stuff. As we get ready to come back here in about 15 seconds here. Yeah. When you get the book ready, we'll pump it up here for sure. So.
Oh yeah, for sure.
And here we go. All right, everybody, welcome back to Spaced Out Radio. We're in After Hour 2.5. We're on the backside of this thing. We're on the After Hours wrap-up with our guy, Travis Muscles, who joins us every Saturday. So you guys don't want to go anywhere. We got about 20 minutes left before we wrap it up, 15 minutes roughly, before we jump into the weird news of the night. Space travelers, I'm going to say this one last time. You're already traveling space. Consider joining the club for $5 a month. You can join our Patreon as we go ahead and jump back into the conversation here. It's been, man, it's just the message of everybody getting back to their native self. I thought that was a pretty awesome thing to say because I guess it covers, people who may not feel that they have a native past. Like I have, Native American in my bloodstream on both sides of my family. So it's sort of easy for me to kind of track the roots to where I know where to go or where to focus. But for some people, it may be like so far, to where they can't really track that. But then just a message of just looking into the actions and naming some sort of actions that are considered some of the things that natives look towards, I think is a helpful thing. And it's really all about putting that positivity out there, creating good energy, and things of that nature. So getting back into this with you, Travis, and once again, here's what I'll say about this map we have up for the radio listeners. Again, we have this map up of North America, the traditional map that you see in your textbooks at school, have a lot of dividing lines and international borders and things of that nature. Whereas the native map just is more of just different individual tribes that are inhabiting different parts of a landmass, which I think is more of what it should be. And I think what I'm going to do, this is going to be my new map. So instead of saying that I'm going to Nevada, I'm going to say I'm going into Havasu Baja territory. Or if I'm going to Arizona and New Mexico, I'm going to name the native territory instead of the state. And it's just a tribute, right? Because the colonization obviously was a bad thing and a horrific thing. Let's go a step further. But with that being said, it just shows you what the natural layout of this land was at one point. And it's actually beautiful when you look at it this way. When you look at the map this way, from the top of Canada all the way down to the tip of South America, just different tribes, different regions, no state lines of international borders, none of that BS. So with that being said, I wanted to show you this too, Travis, because if you came later in the show, you may have missed this part of it, because what I was doing was kind of showing the layout and how beautiful it was at one point here. And then it segued into just another example of some of the areas of what tribes inherited what or inhabited what parts of what land. And then I kind of went into this, right, where this is a current map of the United States with the borders, its state border lines, but more importantly, showing the red marks, which are UFO activity reported historically across the country, and just really saying that there's a lot of marks there. And then overlaying that with the native map kind of shows that those hot spots are all within all these different territories, right? And so it just slams home the fact that these sightings and these things have been being seen for thousands upon thousands of years by all these different tribes and regions, right? And so this is kind of what the message was, and so I don't know if you like to speak to that, but I just thought that was a picture we should paint here.
Yeah, it was like I said, the Star Nations, and we say Star Nations and star people because there was a wide variety of different beings from all different regions of the galaxy and universe. Like there's even a term like it was, like I said, we had the elders when it came up to the ones like the engineer, like that engineer solar systems, and the ones that engineer like star systems. These ones, after they created our solar system and us out here, and they say that they're out there beyond, and they become like in their search for and quest for the truth of the universe and reality. They've actually kind of like became more or less like locked into a point of like protection and overlooking, and kind of like they become a part of the structural system of the universe itself in that sense. But so like these ones, they always speak to us and look out for us in the universe, and there's a lot of, like I said, there's a lot of other ones that come from the Pleiades system, from Arcturians, even like from the Andromeda system is like where we've been getting a lot of our connections from, is like we get a lot of the different kind of healer beings, like the healer aliens that come through, and some of these beings, like when they do come down or they do come through, like I said, it's mainly when our nations are doing are practicing like a true traditional like connection with where it's honoring the truth of reality of existence. It's not, there's no modern day like I should say influence involved in it. Like sure, there might be some of the like their like regalia and stuff may be modern, but what I'm saying is like there's no influence of money or people doing it out of greed or anything like that. Like it's kind of done out of connection for the universe and doing it in that sense, right? And that's a big point about that, is like a lot of the good spirits and even like you said, the good side of the universe, the ultra terrestrials, they won't come around if people are doing things for money, or like like it might be they may come for the good person, like the spirit may come for like and come see the person there, but like the healing won't be proper if medicine man's receiving like that kind of like payments and money, because like it's just it's not looked at in a good way, because that was just not our way traditionally, right? And so like there's a whole thing about that too out there that I figured I'd mention as and that is kind of a nice little way to bring it up, so I figured I'd mention that.
Yeah, awesome stuff. And I actually wanted to ask you this because Jim brought up something compelling as we were talking, and he said over on the reservation with the Santee Dakota Nation that he's recognized or kind of pointed towards the fact that there appears to be orb activity or maybe craft activity that he feels like is in relation to ceremonies that are being done. Like they tend to, for whatever reason, show up when ceremonies are being done. Have you ever experienced that up north? And
Yes.
Okay, so
yes.
You have, okay.
Yeah, for many different type of ceremonies, a few of them, there's been times and we've been visited during our vision quests and our fasting, and a lot of times there is like times and they've come into the sweat lodge, right? And I've mentioned how when we're having one, and like I said, this is a ceremony during the day, and we're inside of there. And most of the time you'll see like, these flickers or flashes of our own spirit, because we are all spirits, right? We're all walking spirits in this realm, in this existence, right? So our energy is connecting, and it's flashing with the vibrational frequencies, and this one pink like orb flew around Sweat Lodge, and then it landed or just kind of positioned itself beside me and started emanating a bright glow. And during our ceremony and our song, we're all singing, right, and praying, and the guy to my right, he had the rattle, and he was singing. He was just looking at me, and his eyes kind of went wide, and I could see a reflection, his the light lighting up his eyes, and he's and then around, we're all praying. We didn't stop praying, kept focused and doing our stuff, and then the round was over, and meanwhile, after the doors were lifted, the Scorpios came in there, and he was bringing in more lava rocks, and he's like, "You guys should have seen it." He's like, it was incredible. He's like, it was just this cloud just flew over. It was just moved itself, positioned itself over us, and it was just like this energy was just like distorting the trees. And I was looking at it, and he said, he's like, it was just like, I'd never seen anything like that ever before. But for me to hear that was the Star Nations, they use that ship that as a cloud, and they use they either cloaked as a cloud, or they were literally the energy within that cloud, right? And they were able just to come through and enter into our ceremony. But like I said, it was all done with like I said, good intention, and that's part of that. Like when people are all in the same connections, and they all come from that background that pertains to like working with this and being a part of this culture and ceremony, and the bloodlines of it and ties and people of it, right? Like what I mean by bloodlines is like it's a funny word that government says it is a blood quantum, right? But it's just like a personal connection to the tribe and the people, right? And so what I'm getting at is a lot of these ceremonies and things are really they're done and still practiced by a lot of the people who still have connections to that, and it works when it's done by people who are properly I should say gifted with that type of like they're allowed to by the spirit world to practice that, or to hold those type of ceremonies and to do those kind of doctrines. Because even though, say, I may know about, now he told us about this dirt healing technique, but I don't know it, so I would never practice it. Get what I mean? Like unless I was told by the spirit world in the Sweat Lodge to do that or practice that, or shown how in Vision Quest or Vision Dream or Dream Time, then I would do it, right? But other than that, I would never practice it.
Yeah, that makes total sense. And so let me ask you this, Travis, as we get ready to close this segment out. I'm always looking for, because as we have talked many a times, and I've said that I think that people within society need to figure out a way to reconnect with their native past, right? So there for all the existing tribes out there, and for a person that doesn't have, like, a person in society, which is a made up created thing, for people who are in a society, what would be a way to, like, what would be a recommended way for them to align themselves with, like, the practices of the natives, right? Like not necessarily being brought in for ceremonies, but like as far as the mindset, what would be like a good way for people to at least align with the mindset of the native perspective?
Okay. Yeah. So like, for example, it's when you're connecting with with the mind and interconnectedness, it's it's first, it's a interconnectedness with prayers and the mindfulness, and then your outward is like your ceremony, and it's all pertained to universal creation and understanding that we're all gifted this life. You know what I mean? We're all gifted this gift of life, and the gratitude that comes with all these things. And like our, what like our existence, what we're I should say, for these things, we always honor that, and we always try to have ceremonies yearly to honor these things, like that we're working with, or that we get to, I should say, like we honor the fire, the water, the air, the elements, and we honor the directions of the universe, and we honor all these things that are natural, like I should say, part of our natural laws and who we are, and we try to live by these these understanding of these relations, right? And how much they are like we never try to have an ego over anything. Like we try to not see life that way. Like we try not to we try to honor all the spirits as we are, like I like to say, as we have more connection with that grass over there, and the dirt outside, and the trees, and all the little plants and the berries and everything. We try not to say, like we try not to look at ourselves as the sons and daughters of God. We try to look at ourselves as a part of of this creation. Like we try to see as like I said, our relations to all things, big and small, and that's that's a part of that relationship. Like we try not to have that egotistic, like we're like when we pray, we don't pray directly to God, our creator. When we pray and we connect with our ancestors and these beings, these elements, because that's what we're related to, that's what we have, and that's what we're connected to. Like we consider the supreme being way too high. Like we would never have that kind of connection, like we would never have that kind of like talk, like one-on-one, unless we were unless the great spirit took pity on us, right, and actually come down and spoke to our pity ass. I'm sorry, sorry for swearing, but and like get what I mean though, right? It's it's kind of like, it's a very different kind of respects towards all things in all life, and we try to see it all as a blessing, many blessings.
Hey, that's an awesome way to end it all, Travis. That was a mic drop, man. I do appreciate you, dude. You killed it. Thanks for coming on in tonight. We shall do this again. And that wasn't a curse word, just so you know. I think radio accepts that one pretty well. I think we're good there. So I do appreciate you coming on in tonight, Travis. Thanks for your contribution as always. And I will see you next weekend, my friend.
Alrighty. Take care, everyone.
Yes,
Till
sir. You too. That's right. Travis Musus, ladies and gentlemen, once again. And let me bring the map back up, because this is the map I'm going to use. Forget the current map and forget these state lines, man. I'm referring to territories from this point going forward. I think that's the new wave, and I think that's what I think. If you practice, you adopt that mindset as well. And I'm just trying to find a way to, as Travis said, not really look to a higher entity, but to kind of realize that you're part of everything and relate to everything that is life, right? I think that was an awesome way to put it. And with that being said, we're going to go ahead and maybe jump in. I think we got time for let's do at least one weird news story, because we have the ability to do so. So let me go ahead and play the soundbite.
Ladies and gentlemen, can I please have your attention? I've just been handed an urgent and horrifying news story. And I need all of you to stop what you're doing and listen.
All right, as we jump into UFO and weird news of the week, and I think we got time for this story here, so we'll kind of just take our time to unwrap this one here. So this story comes from LED Bible, and the title of this is Couple Getting Steamy in a Car Accidentally Roll into River After Making a Vital Error. The pair had to complete a swim of shame back to dry land. You ever heard of the Mile High Club? But you have you've heard of the Mile High Club, but have you ever heard of the Mile Below Club? Me either. But it seems like this couple might be the very first members of it, after their moment of passion in a parked car ended up with them both being immersed in Philadelphia's Schuylkill River in the early hours of the morning. Instead of waiting for a cold shower when they got home, this pair accidentally opted for a dunk in the 135-mile-long river, which runs through eastern Pennsylvania on Wednesday, August 28th. The daring duo were getting randy inside of a 2020 Range Rover near the water's edge in Fairmount Park when the car started rolling after they made a vital error. So let this be a warning to anyone who is partial to a bit of love making in a motor vehicle. Make sure you stay well away from any ponds, rivers, lakes, and oceans. Otherwise, you'll face a very soggy end to your sexual relations like these two did. The unidentified couple were probably having a blast doing their thing in the back seat of the spacious Range Rover while the rest of the city was sleeping, but it all went Pete Tong at about 4:15 a.m. Somehow, one of the overzealous lovebirds accidentally bumped into the gear stick with one of their limbs while they were getting steamy, causing the car to start rolling as they nudged it into drive. Within a matter of moments, and probably long before the duo had a chance to chuck their clothes back on, the white Range Rover had tumbled over the edge and right into the Schuylkill River. Although they were forced to emerge from the river sheepish and soaking wet, the couple luckily managed to escape from the sinking car before it went below the surface. Imagine the murders they had while swimming back to dry land, eh? Philadelphia police confirmed the pair were enjoying each other's company prior to the incident and that they both emerged unscathed, according to TMZ. Their motor was eventually fished out of the river after 5 hours of their late night rendezvous came to a damp ending, with the fire service hoisting the Range Rover out of the river at 9 a.m. on Wednesday morning. Awkwardly, its headlights had remained on all morning. So yeah, everyone in the immediate vicinity probably knew exactly what had gone down after one look in the water. According to reports, there were no charges being lodged against the couple following the incident. Eerily, another car also rolled into the river at the same spot near the Strawberry Mansion Bridge on the August 16th, but no one was found inside. Perhaps they couldn't deal with the swim of shame back to dry land, eh? Anyway, just a reminder that safe sex doesn't just mean contraception. It also means don't put your life in danger just to get your rocks off, lads. So obviously this is a story from overseas, but that's insane. That's insane. The swim of shame. I think we've all had a moment where we potentially have, you know, done some randy things inside of an automobile somewhere, but never at a water's edge and never with an ending like that. So with that being said, that'll be at least the one weird news story that we get in tonight as we thank our guest who came in tonight, James White of the Santee Dakota Nation. Thank you so much for coming in for hours 1 and 2. Also, thanks Steve Stockton for the Missing Persons Mysteries and Travis Moostu for coming in for the After Hours wrap up. We also want to thank and say hello to that man you're listening to, Mr. Ron Bubblefoot Thal, the man who rocks us out each and every weekend as he reminds us to never say never again. Because yes, the phenomena is real and anything and everything is possible. Show some love tonight by putting your horns up. I'd appreciate it. Also, we want to thank our viewers online and listeners on terrestrial radio and digital platforms. When and wherever in the world you may be listening from, we appreciate you tuning your frequency to Spaced Out Radio, where we do what we do best. What's that, you ask? We own the night. Remember, this show is copyrighted Spaced Out Radio and SOR Media Ventures Limited. It's been a pleasure serving you once again as your host. I'm Mr. Rob G. This is the After Hours Radio Show. And to all you space travelers out there, this is not a goodbye nor a farewell. However, as we go off the air for the night, we will see you next time. Much love, everybody. Take care. See you next time. What a way to end the show. All right. And definitely want to thank Wes Decker for showing his love tonight. I appreciate how genuine Mr. Rob G is. Keep up the great work and positive messages. This is a great interview, and Jim White is a great guest. Yes, I do appreciate Jim White for coming in, and the Native perspective is so important to what it is that we're doing here. Like, how could you not think that that's the case? And that's kind of where I'm at with it. You know, I've always said that, and that's kind of where we're going to end the show tonight. So once again, I do appreciate everyone for showing up here to the After Hours. We got the great-granddaughter of President Eisenhower coming in tomorrow. And you think you've seen her on interviews, but you never seen her on an After Hours interview. So it should be impactful. We're going to have a great time, a great conversation, and I hope to see everybody there. Thanks so much for coming in. You guys all take care. See you tomorrow.
Cause we want retribution. Oh yeah, we want retribution. Oh yeah, we want retribution.